What if the most dangerous moment for your heart today doesn't happen while shoveling snow, climbing stairs, or during a heated argument, but before your eyes even fully open? Right around 6 a.m., as dawn breaks, your body undergoes a massive internal shift. Cardiologists call this the morning biological storm. To help you wake up, your brain signals a surge of cortisol and adrenaline. Your heart rate quickens, your blood pressure naturally spikes, and your blood becomes physically thicker and more prone to clotting. For a healthy 20-year-old, this internal wake-up call passes smoothly. But after age 60, especially if you manage high blood pressure, stiff arteries, or early-stage heart disease, this sudden surge turns a peaceful morning into a window of extreme cardiovascular risk. In fact, medical studies show that serious cardiac events occur far more frequently during these early hours of the day than at any other time of day. The good news? You hold immense power over how your morning begins. Today, we are uncovering 7 silent habits that inadvertently overload your heart, along with the simple 30-second adjustment that could safeguard your circulation tomorrow morning. Let us begin with habit number 7, which is perhaps the most deceptive of all because it happens entirely in the dark. Treating poor, interrupted sleep as an inevitable tax on getting older, rather than a direct threat to your cardiovascular system. To understand why this matters so much, consider Harold. Harold was a 71-year-old retired accountant living in Ohio. He was a disciplined man who walked every evening, took his vitamins, and avoided smoking. Yet every single morning he woke up feeling drained, nursing a dull headache, a dry mouth, and a heavy mental fog that made his morning coffee feel useless. His wife often mentioned that he snored loud enough to shake the bedroom doors and occasionally seemed to gasp for air mid-sleep. Harold simply laughed it off, shrugging his shoulders and saying, "Well, everybody snores when they get older." What Harold didn't realize was that while he slept, his heart was locked in a nightly battle for survival. Harold was living with untreated sleep apnea, a condition that affects millions of American seniors often without their knowledge. When the muscles in your throat relax too much during sleep, your airway closes off, completely stopping the flow of oxygen. When your brain senses that oxygen levels are plummeting, it panics. It jolts your body awake with a sudden release of adrenaline and cortisol, the very same fight or flight hormones your body uses during an acute emergency. Your heart rate spikes violently, and your blood pressure surges upward in the pitch black of night. This cycle doesn't happen just once or twice. For many seniors, it repeats tens or even hundreds of times every single night. Most people wake up with no memory of these microscopic awakenings. They assume they spent 8 peaceful hours resting in bed. But the heart muscle remembers. The arteries remember. The heart muscle remembers every single burst of mechanical stress it endured while you were unconscious. By the time dawn rolls around and 6 a.m. arrives, an ordinary person's heart is ready to handle the natural morning rise in blood pressure. But for someone living with untreated sleep apnea or severe sleep disruption, that quiet morning surge isn't hitting a fresh, rested heart. It is stacking right on top of hours of relentless overnight exhaustion. This double layer of physical strain is precisely what can push a vulnerable heart over the edge into a serious cardiac event. Eventually, after almost fainting at a Sunday church service, Harold finally agreed to a simple sleep evaluation. Once he received proper treatment, his morning headaches vanished, his blood pressure stabilized, and his energy returned in a way he hadn't felt in decades. If you wake up regularly with a pounding heart, a bone-deep fatigue, or morning headaches, do not dismiss it as normal aging. Pay attention to what your body is experiencing in the dark.
because your morning heart health actually begins the night before.
Now, let's turn our attention to habit number 6, which turns out to be one of the most dangerous mental traps a person over 60 can fall into: ignoring strange or subtle morning discomforts simply because they don't look dramatic enough to be a heart problem. To understand how easily this happens, let me share the story of Lorraine. Lorraine was 68 years old, living in a quiet suburban neighborhood in Pennsylvania. On a crisp Tuesday morning, she woke up around 6:30 a.m., feeling slightly off. There was no crushing chest pain, no sharp agony radiating down her left arm, and no cinematic collapsing on the carpet like you see in Hollywood movies. Instead, she felt a vague tightness across her upper chest, almost like a heavy sweater pulled too tight. She noticed a faint sheen of cold sweat on the back of her neck, a hint of nausea that made her morning toast unappealing, and an overwhelming, bone-deep tiredness that made the simple act of buttoning her blouse feel like running a marathon. Lorraine did what millions of thoughtful, independent seniors do every day. She rationalized it. First, she told herself it was just heartburn from the previous evening's dinner. Then she blamed it on a poor night's sleep. And finally, worst of all, she decided she would just lie back down and wait a few hours to see if it passes. By noon that day, Lorraine was being rushed by ambulance to the local emergency room in the middle of an active heart attack. I need every person listening and every family member caring for an older adult to hear this clearly. Cardiovascular events do not always arrive with a loud, dramatic trumpet. In older adults, and especially in women, the heart frequently communicates through quiet whispers rather than loud screams. A morning heart issue might present as a mild ache in your lower jaw or neck that feels like a toothache. It might feel like an unexplained heaviness in your upper back, between your shoulder blades, a sudden wave of dizziness when you walk toward the kitchen, or a feeling of breathlessness while doing something as simple as making your bed. The reason mornings are so uniquely deceptive is because we naturally expect to feel a bit stiff, sluggish, or foggy when we first wake up. We get comfortable attributing every odd sensation to getting older, but that expectation becomes a dangerous disguise for real cardiac distress. Lorraine Reeder admitted that the symptom that alarmed her the most wasn't pain at all. It was the sudden, unnatural feeling that her internal battery had been completely pulled out of her body. Sudden, unexplained fatigue, especially when paired with a light sweat, nausea, or shortness of breath, is a major biological signal. It's your circulation warning you that demand is outstripping supply. If you wake up tomorrow and your body feels abruptly, strangely different in a way that alarms your intuition, please do not let pride, modesty, or the fear of making a fuss keep you silent. Do not wait 3 hours to see if it fades away while you do the dishes. Honor that warning sign immediately, because when it comes to protecting your heart muscle, minutes matter far more than pride. As we move further into the morning, we reach 2 habits that seem entirely unrelated on the surface, yet both trigger the exact same dangerous physiological response: a sudden artificial spike in your heart's workload. Let's start with habit number 5, a habit that becomes particularly treacherous every winter across the United States: stepping directly into freezing cold air to perform sudden physical work before your cardiovascular system has had a chance to warm up. Picture Walter, a 74-year-old retired school teacher from Minnesota. One morning, after a heavy snowstorm, Walter woke up, threw on his winter coat, grabbed a heavy shovel, and walked straight out to the driveway before even eating breakfast or drinking a glass of water. He wanted to clear the snow before his neighbors woke up. Within 4 minutes, Walter was breathing heavily.
Then came a sharp tightness in his chest, a radiating ache into his left shoulder, and a wave of dizziness. Walter survived, but only because his neighbor happened to spot him leaning heavily against his porch railing and immediately called 911. Here is what happened inside Walter's body. Cold air is not just uncomfortable, it is a powerful vasoconstrictor. The moment freezing air hits your face and lungs, your tiny surface blood vessels snap shut to preserve core body heat. This instantly skyrockets your blood pressure. Now combine that with sudden heavy exertion, especially upper body strain like shoveling wet snow, scraping ice off a windshield, or dragging heavy trash bins to the curb. To make matters worse, people naturally hold their breath while lifting heavy loads, which creates massive internal pressure spikes. You are forcing an unwarmed, half-hydrated heart to pump furiously against constricted blood vessels right in the middle of its natural morning pressure rise. That is not exercise, it's a cardiovascular ambush. Warm up inside first, layer up properly, and step outside slowly. That brings us directly to habit number 4, which takes place entirely on your nightstand. Grabbing your smartphone the very second you open your eyes and flooding your brain with instant stress. Consider Denise, a 66-year-old grandmother from Florida. Denise kept her phone right next to her pillow. Every morning, before her feet even touched the rug, she would scroll through breaking news headlines, check alarming political alerts, read stressful family group messages, and worry about financial market fluctuations. By 6:15 a.m., before taking a single calm breath, Denise had already frightened herself, elevated her heart rate, and tensed every muscle in her neck and shoulders. Your body already experiences a natural rise in waking hormones like cortisol to help you transition out of sleep. But when you immediately layer digital panic, bad news, or urgency on top of that natural rise before sunrise, you throw your nervous system into full fight or flight mode before sunrise. Your heart rate jumps, your blood pressure climbs sharply, and your breathing grows shallow. Your morning nervous system deserves a gentle, gradual awakening, not an immediate trip to a digital battleground. Denise changed just one thing. She left her phone in the kitchen overnight. Instead of scrolling in bed, she sat up slowly, drank a glass of water, and looked out the window for 10 quiet minutes. Within 2 weeks, her morning heart palpitations plummeted and her blood pressure readings stabilized. Protect those first few minutes after waking. Your circulation depends on it.
Now, let's discuss 2 morning habits that sound so minor, many people almost laugh when cardiologists bring them up. Yet together, they create a chaotic environment inside your blood vessels right when you need stability the most. Habit number 3 is waking up completely dehydrated and walking straight to the coffee pot for a dose of heavy caffeine before drinking a single drop of plain water. Take Arthur, a 73-year-old retired machinist from Pennsylvania. Arthur kept his favorite ceramic mug right beside his coffee maker. His morning routine was legendary in his house. Wake up, stand up, pour a piping hot cup of coffee, and chug it down to get the engine running. Water, he claimed, was for later in the day. But nearly every morning around 7 a.m., Arthur experienced a strange lightheadedness, a fluttering sensation in his chest, and a sudden tightness when walking up his basement stairs. He assumed the coffee was helping his low morning energy. In reality, he was reading his body's signals completely backward. After 7 to 8 hours of sleep, your body is naturally depleted of fluids. This is even more pronounced in adults over 60, especially those taking morning diuretic water pills or sleeping in warm rooms.
When fluid levels are low, your blood volume drops, making your blood thicker and harder to pump. Your heart has to work significantly harder just to maintain steady circulation. When you dump caffeine directly on an empty, dehydrated system, the caffeine triggers a sudden constriction of your blood vessels while simultaneously signaling your heart to beat faster. That combination can spark heart palpitations, dizzy spells, and abrupt blood pressure spikes. Coffee is not the villain here. Many seniors enjoy it safely, but timing matters immensely. Rehydrate your system with a full glass of fresh water first before introducing stimulants. That brings us directly to habit number 2, taking your prescribed heart and blood pressure medications inconsistently or whenever it happens to be convenient. Meet Miriam, a 70-year-old active volunteer from Texas. Miriam was prescribed a daily blood pressure pill meant to be taken every morning. But Miriam's schedule was unpredictable. Some days she took it at 6 a.m., other days at 10:30 after running errands, and occasionally she forgot until after lunch. She figured as long as the pill got into her system sometime before noon, it didn't matter. But Miriam's blood pressure log told an alarming story. Her numbers looked like a roller coaster, frighteningly high one morning, crashing low the next afternoon. Here is why consistency is non-negotiable. Blood pressure medications are designed with precise chemical release curves to protect you during your body's most vulnerable hours, specifically during that 6 a.m. to noon biological surge. When you take your medication at random times, you create massive gaps in coverage. Your heart is left completely unprotected right when your internal stress hormones and morning blood pressure are peaking. Please hear this clearly. Never alter or adjust your medication timing on your own. If you suffer from morning dizziness or side effects, discuss it directly with your primary care physician. But if you have a set morning prescription, build a rock-solid, repeatable routine. Hearts do poorly with chaos. They thrive on predictable, steady care.
We have now arrived at habit number 1, the single most widespread morning error among adults over 60. It is a 30-second mistake that seems entirely harmless because it takes almost no time at all. Yet, it can instantly trigger severe lightheadedness, dangerous indoor falls, rapid heart palpitations, and in vulnerable individuals, tip a delicate morning into a catastrophic cardiovascular or neurological event. The number 1 morning mistake is waking up and springing straight out of bed, as if your circulatory system can instantly jump from sleep mode into upright exertion without a single moment to adjust. To see how quickly this unfolds, consider Robert, a 76-year-old retired contractor living in North Carolina. Robert was a proud, independent man who moved fast because he hated the thought of feeling old. Every morning, the moment his eyes opened, he would swing both legs over the mattress, pop straight up to his feet in one continuous motion, and stride toward the hallway. One crisp Thursday morning, Robert stood up at his usual lightning speed, but this time, before he made it 2 steps, the bedroom spun out of control. His vision dimmed around the edges, his chest gave a violent fluttering heave, and a wave of intense nausea hit him. He reached out for his dresser to steady himself, missed, and crashed heavily to the carpet, fracturing his wrist. Robert assumed he fell simply because he was getting clumsy in his old age. The medical truth was far more serious. Robert had experienced a dangerous, sudden collapse in circulation. Here is the underlying biology that every senior must understand. While you lie flat in bed at night, your blood volume is distributed evenly across your entire body. The very second you swing your legs down and stand upright, gravity immediately goes to work, pulling nearly a pint of blood straight down into your legs and lower abdomen. To prevent you from fainting every time you stand up, your body relies on an automatic reflex mechanism. Your blood vessels must instantly tighten, and your heart must adjust its pumping rate to keep oxygen-rich blood flowing continuously up to your brain.
When you were 20 years old, this vascular reflex happened in milliseconds, but as we cross age 60, especially if we take blood pressure medications, live with stiffened arteries, or wake up mildly dehydrated, that automatic reflex mechanism slows down significantly. When you stand up too fast, your brain briefly experiences a sharp drop in oxygen and blood flow. Simultaneously, your heart panics and beats frantically to compensate for the sudden fluid shift. You get hit with a dangerous double whammy. Your cardiovascular system is already struggling against its natural 6 a.m. biological pressure rise, and now you have forced it into a violent postural balancing act. People often tell their doctors, "I felt my heart pounding and I felt faint at the same time." That exact combination happens because your heart is overworking while your brain is underperfused. Robert had underlying coronary artery disease and had been ignoring this morning lightheadedness for months, mistaking it for vigor. Standing up like a lightning bolt does not prove you are young. It simply places an unnecessary high-stakes tax on your arteries at the most vulnerable hour of the day. Your circulation is a complex living system, not an electric switch. It demands a gentler, more respectful transition from the pillow to the floor.
Now that you understand the hidden risks of the morning surge, let's talk about the solution. Protecting your heart tomorrow morning doesn't require expensive equipment, complicated exercises, or drastic lifestyle overhauls. It simply requires a gentle, deliberate routine that gives your cardiovascular system the respect and time it needs to wake up safely. This is the safe 30-second slow rise protocol. Picture yourself putting this exact sequence into practice tomorrow morning when your eyes open. Step 1. The 10-second bed pause. When you first wake up, do not launch yourself upward. Stay lying completely flat for 10 seconds. Take 2 or 3 slow, deep breaths through your nose. Gently wiggle your fingers and flex your ankles. This subtle movement signals your nervous system that you are awake, allowing your heart rate to gently adjust without demanding immediate full performance. Step 2. The 15-second edge sit. Roll gently onto your side and use your arms to push your upper body up and swing your legs over the edge of the mattress. Sit on the edge of your bed for 15 seconds with both feet planted firmly on the carpet. While you are sitting there, take a quick internal inventory. How does your head feel? Are you dizzy? Is your vision clear? Do you feel any tightness in your chest, nausea, or shortness of breath? Sitting at the edge allows gravity to bring blood down to your lower body gradually while your brain stays level, giving your blood vessels plenty of time to tighten and adjust. Step 3. The controlled stand. If you feel completely clear and steady, stand up slowly while placing a hand on a sturdy nightstand or bedpost for balance. Stand still for just 2 seconds before taking your first step toward the bathroom or kitchen. That's it. 30 seconds. It sounds simple because it is simple. But practicing this small habit every single day removes an enormous amount of unnecessary mechanical stress from your heart at its most delicate time of day. Once you are up, complete your safe morning flow. Drink a full glass of fresh water to hydrate your blood, take your daily medications consistently as prescribed by your doctor, hold off on immediate stress or high caffeine, and dress warmly before stepping into cold air. Finally, I need to share a vital warning about medical emergencies that every senior and family caregiver must know. If you ever wake up experiencing severe chest pressure, pain radiating into your left jaw, neck, back, or shoulder, cold, drenching sweats, sudden unexplained nausea, or extreme shortness of breath, do not wait to see if it passes. Do not finish making breakfast, do not take a shower first, and do not drive yourself to the hospital.
immediately dial 911 or your local emergency services. Paramedics carry specialized equipment that can begin treating a heart event the moment they step through your front door. Taking care of your heart isn't about fear. It is about intelligence, self-respect, and moving with wisdom. You are not weak for sitting on the edge of your bed for 15 seconds. You are being smart. Tomorrow morning, give your heart the calm, steady start it has earned over a lifetime. Take care of yourself and give your circulation the gentle morning it deserves.